A total of 244 acres of land was supposed to be retrofitted. Redevelopment projects focused on Lower Bazaar, Ganj Bazaar, and Krishna Bazaar. The aim was to replace dilapidated, unsafe buildings with modern, resilient earthquake structures. Total estimated investment on Shimla was 2,900 crores, with funding sources as follows: 897 crore from public-private partnerships, 100 crore through municipal bonds, 200 crores from external borrowings, and 348 crores from state level and union government schemes, and the rest from other sources. However, as of now, according to Smart City Dashboard, only 700 crore has been spent, 53 crore on completed projects and 654 on ongoing ones. The proposed PPP contribution has not yet materialized. None of the funds have been utilized for the redevelopment of Lower Bazaar, Middle Bazaar, or Krishnanagar. Traffic congestion has worsened, and despite initial plans, non motorized mobility remains neglected. Instead, funds instead funds were spent on flower pots with worth 2 crore. Moreover, large visually intrusive structures were erected for escalators that remain non-operational, obstructing Shimla's iconic valley views. As the Smart City mission approaches its final chapter, lessons are glaringly evident. Projects devoid of the meaningful urban governance and public involvement are bound to fail. With no ownership or accountability, the Smart City vision has failed into oblivion. The Smart City initiative was based on IoT, a framework that works well in advanced capitalist countries where basic utilities are already in place. Governance of these projects bypassed local governance, relying instead on special work purpose vehicle registered under the Companies Act. City councils were excluded based on the assumption that private company like structures could deliver better results. Projects devoid of meaningful urban governance and public involvement are bound to fail. Why are antivenoms not easily accessible in India? A landmark 2020 study by researchers from Canada, India, and UK estimated that between 2001 and 2014, a staggering 1.2 million snakebite deaths and three times as many cases of disability occurred in India. Antivenoms are life-saving medicines used to treat snake bites. They are procured by injecting small amounts of venom into animals, usually horses, which then produces antibodies as part of their immune response. These antibodies become antivenoms. Snake venom is one of the nature's most lethal weapons, a complex cocktail of toxic proteins, each tailored by evolution to immobilize and, in some cases, to digest prey and defend against threats. When sufficient quantity of venom is injected during a snake bite, the toxins wreak havoc on the human body in multiple ways. Hemotoxins destroy blood cells and disrupt clotting. Neurotoxins block nerve signals and paralyze. Cytotoxins dissolve tissues at the bite site, and the effects are often fatal without medical intervention. Antivenoms are frontline defense. They work by specifically binding to the venom toxins to render them effective, allowing the body's natural defense systems to clear them safely over time. But for antivenom treatment to succeed, responders need to know which snake species inflicted the wound and how much venom is it injected. Polyvalent antivenoms currently used in India target multiple species, however, their efficiency varies against less common snakes. Production of antivenom is remarkable interplay of human ingenuity, animal resilience, and immunological mastery, dating back to the pioneering work of French physician Albert Camus in the 1890s. He developed the first antivenom using horses, a practice that continues today. To produce antivenom, healthy and mature venomous snakes are first captured from the wild by trained experts who then milk snakes to extract the venom. Next, they immunize horses with increasing doses of venom over many weeks. allowing their immune systems to produce antibodies. The dose of venom injected into horses is critical. Too little, an immune response, and the immune response will be weak. Too much, and the horse's body could be damaged. Over time, horses develop a robust immune response, producing antibodies that neutralize venom toxins. Several companies in India, including Bharat Serums and Vaccines, Hafkin Biopharmaceutical Corporation, and Viennese Bioproducts, produce antivenom this way. Antivenoms of the future are more promising. Researchers are using recombinant DNA technology to produce lab engineered synthetic antivenoms that are free from animal derived proteins and offer greater safety and efficiency. Computer designed proteins could accelerate development by helping researchers to optimize antibodies for different clinical settings. 21st January marks the 80th death anniversary of Raj Bihari Bose, one of the founding leaders of Indian National Army. Bengal moves High Court seeking death penalty for convict. Allahabad High Court curbs unfettered powers of the Uttar Pradesh police, stating that Uttar Pradesh police have unfettered power to implicate anyone for any offence and open a history sheet against the person. The Allahabad High Court on Monday asked the state government to put in place reasoned orders on the process, yearly review and consideration of objectives by the accused. The observations were made by a bench of Justices Siddharth and Subhash Chandra Sharma while hearing the petition moved by four persons challenging the opening of history sheet against them by the Noida police station in the state, stating that the police has unfettered power to implicate anyone on the basis of basis of any offence by making the report to the higher police authority for opening Class B history sheet. The court noted that police are clearly acting against the mandate of the Constitution laid down under Article 14 to 1921 of the Constitution on the basis of pre-independence regulation. Considering the present state of affairs, rampant false implications because of personal and political rivalry, provisions regarding opening of history sheets need to be reviewed. State government will also provide a review of the history sheets opened against the citizen every year so that in the cases where implication of persons against whom his history sheet was opened and who have been subsequently exonerated or acquitted of criminal charges, their history sheets are closed and shadow of surveillance by police on their life and liberty gets removed. Com- Competent to judge Indus Water Treaty dispute, says World Bank neutral expert. The neutral expert appointed under the terms of the Indus Water Treaty 1960 decided that he was competent to decide on the differences between India and Pakistan on the design of hydroelectric projects built on the Indus Treaty rivers. The decision on January 7 by Michel Lino, the World Bank appointed Northeast, which was made publicly by a press release on Monday, however, does not help resolve the demand by India in January 23 to renegotiate the Indus Water Treaty. Trump declares end to full birthright citizenship. Quad foreign ministers are expected to discuss dates for Quad summit to be held in India later this year. While during the bilateral summit meeting, Mr. Jaishankar and Mr. Rubio would discuss Mr. Trump's visit to India and taking forward the strategic partnership as well as the concerns over immigration and tariffs. Mr. Rubio will meet State Department employees and then hold talks with all Quad foreign ministers. The meeting of the Indo-Pacific grouping that China has criticized is significant as it is Mr. Rubio's first foreign policy engagement. On Monday, Mr. Jaishankar was accorded a front row aisle seat right in front of the podium where Mr. Trump took oath. Mr. Rubio's decision to meet the Quad foreign ministers first is also important as it comes amid Mr. Trump's outreach to China, including an invitation to Chinese President Xi Jinping for the inaugural ceremony on Monday, which Chinese President Han Zheng attended. Mr. Rubio, known for his tough views on China, has been banned from traveling there and was sanctioned twice by Beijing over his comments criticizing human rights violations. Trump pardons January 6 Capitol riot convicts. At least 14 Maoists killed in Ghaziabad encounter. Supreme Kerala Assembly calls for fresh UGC norms. The document criticizes draft UGC regulations for excluding state governments from key decisions, particularly the appointment of vice chancellor and setting of qualification and service conditions for faculty members. It asserts that power to establish and supervise universities rests with state governments as per the Constitution 7th Schedule. Referring to the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1977, the resolution also emphasizes that center's role should be limited to coordinating and setting standards for higher education. Such guidelines resolution argues undermine the democratic functioning of universities and give undue influence to central authorities, thereby sidelining the role of states, which contribute about 80% of the funding for higher education institutions. The resolution also highlights the objectionable provisions in the guidelines that propose appointing vice chancellors from the private sector, even potentially from commercial backgrounds, instead of prioritizing academic expertise within universities. This is cautious. It could lead to commercialization of higher education. Supreme Court dismisses Jharkhand's appeal against BJP MPs. The Supreme Court on Tuesday confirmed the quashing of a case of criminal trespass registered against BJP MPs Nishikant Dubey, Manoj Tiwari, and others for entering the air traffic control room at Deoghar Airport in Jharkhand 3 years ago. The bench headed by Justice A.S. Oka allowed the state police to hand over the investigation materials to authorities under the Aircraft Act 1934 within a month. Top court has questioned the state case of criminal trespass. How is criminal trespass committed here? Was there any intention to intimidate? Justice Eka asked him. How is criminal trespass committed here? Was there any intention to intimidate? Top court asked if poll ban on persons charged with crimes will cause irreversible damage. Supreme Court on Tuesday asked whether a ban on persons charged with heinous offences such as murder and rape from contesting elections will lead to irreversible damage if they are later found innocent and after trial. A bench of Justices Suryakant and N. Koteswar Singh said there were also reliefs in law if elected persons were later found guilty of serious crimes. Petitioner advocate Ashwini Kumar Upadhyay submitted that right to campaign and contest were not fundamental rights. There are only 5,000 seats up for election and over a billion people. Can we not find honest people to contest the election? Mr. Upadhyay asked the court. Justice Kant asked how many honest people come forward to contest, stressing the national introspection. Mr. Upadhyay said honest souls did not even enter electoral politics as the system had collapsed. Illegal tree felling, SC Supreme Court reserves verdict. Delhi Development Authority Vice Chairperson for the illegal felling of trees in the protected ridge area without prior permission from the top court. Lost panel UCC's paper ignored, says Congress. Day after Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami said the state's uniform civil code rules have been approved and will be implemented. The Congress on Tuesday said 22nd Law Commission had been wound up before it could submit its report on the UCC. Referring to the Commission's 182-page consultation paper on reform of family law, Congress leader Jairam Ramesh said Para 1.15 says while diversity of Indian culture can and should be celebrated, specific groups of weaker sections of society must not be this privilege in the process. Resolution of this conflict does not mean abolition of all differences. This commission has therefore dealt with laws that are discriminatory rather than providing UCC, which is neither necessary nor desirable. Ties must be viewed from a long-term perspective. Beijing, Chinese Foreign Ministry was reacting to Jaishankar's remarks in Mumbai. China says both countries need to engage in cooperation. India and China should handle the bilateral ties from a strategic height and long-term perspective while implementing the common understanding reached by the leaders of the two countries. The ministry was reacting to External Affairs Ministry's recent remarks that India-China relationship is trying to disentangle itself from the complications arising post-2020 border situation, and more thought needs to be given to the longer-term evolution of the ties. We need to view and handle the bilateral relations from a strategic height and long-term perspective, bring the relations back to track of healthy and stable development, and find the right path for big neighboring countries to live in harmony and develop side by side. Chinese Foreign Minister and spokesperson told a media briefing here, delving into new various aspects of New Delhi's relations with Beijing over past decades. Mr. Jaishankar is in his Nali Palkiwala Memorial Lecture in Mumbai on January 18 said misreadings by past policymakers, whether driven by idealism or absence of real politics, has helped neither cooperation nor competition with China. That has changed in the last decade, he said, address and adding that mutual trust, mutual respect, and mutual sensitivity. He said adding that mutual trust, mutual respect, and mutual sensitivity should remain the basis of the relationship between two sides. Responding to the question of Mr. Jaishankar's remarks, Mr. Goh said the two major time honored civilizations, developing countries, and emerging economies, China and India need to focus on development and engage in cooperation. Extra security camps to be established to tackle Maoists. As part of the continued offensive against the Maoists, Central Security Forces and police aim to establish 88 additional security camps in the left-wing extremism states. WHO chief urges US to reconsider its decision to exist. After President Donald Trump's announcement that the US would exit the WHO, Tedros Adhanom, Director General WHO, said he hoped that the country would reconsider the decision. In a statement on Monday, Dr. Guy Bryce said, "We hope that United States will reconsider and look forward to engaging in constructive dialogue to maintain the partnership between USA and WHO." Mr. Trump cited the Global Health Agency's mishandling of the COVID-19 pandemic and other international health crises as the reasons for the exit, stating that American institutions have both contributed and benefited from membership in the WHO. The Global Health Agency expressed its regret that over the announcement. Dr. Ghebreyesus said, United States have been a founding member of the WHO in 1948 and had participated in shaping the governing of the WHO's work ever since alongside 193 other member states. For others, over 7 decades, WHO and US have saved countless lives and protected Americans all people from health threats. Working together, the world has seen the end of smallpox, brought polio to the brink of eradication, it stated. With participation from the United States and other member states, WHO has over the past 7 years implemented the largest set of reforms in history. In its history, India is also among the top 10 global contributors of core funding to the WHO and has committed to give more than $300 million dollars for the organization's core program of work from 2025 to 2028. CAG report highlights staff shortage in Kerala hospitals. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India's performance report on the Kerala health sector from 2016 to 22 has observed a serious shortage of staff, doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and lab technicians in all levels of hospitals under the modern system of medicine. The deficiency of manpower not just affects just the accessibility of public to qualify healthcare, but also exerts pressure on the available resources, said the CAG report tabled in the Assembly on Tuesday. Family health centers were not providing services as intended under the Aradram mission due to lack of infrastructure, required manpower, etc., and thus aim to provide augmented patient care services had not been met. The CAG has pointed out the issues of shortage of drugs and lack of equipment. India France to work together on maritime surveillance in Indian Ocean region. India and France have agreed to explore opportunities for coordinated surveillance whilst deployed to counter threats to the maritime security in the Indian Ocean region. The two countries also committed to supporting each other in maritime security engagements. Both sides agreed to strengthen existing mechanisms of cooperation such as implementation of the agreed framework of exchange of information through enhanced information exchange between Indian Information Fusion Center, Indian Ocean Region, said Gurugram, and Regional Coordination Operations Center, Seychelles, and Regional Maritime Information Fusion Center, Madagascar. The Ministry of External Affairs said in a statement after the 7th India France Maritime Cooperation Dialogue held recently. India and France agreed to develop a joint assessment of the threats to maritime security in the region to counter illicit maritime activities, including piracy and armed robbery, maritime terrorism and contraband smuggling, illegal and unregulated fishing, hybrid as well as cyber security threats, and marine pollution, the ministry said. Officials said the effort for coordinated surveillance will be to address these kinds of threat. India-France discussed civil nuclear deal issues ahead of PM's visit to Paris. India and France have agreed to boost cooperation in the high-end technology sectors as senior officials held foreign office consultations in Paris and discussed long pending civil nuclear cooperation issues ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit next month. A delegation led by Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri and including newly appointed Indian ambassador to France Sanjeev Singla met French Secretary General for Europe and Foreign Affairs Anne-Marie Descartes and French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot. Mr. Modi will travel to Paris for the Summit of Action on Artificial Intelligence on February 10 and 11. Officials also discussed the Prime Minister's program and bilateral agenda during the visit. Last week, French Minister had announced that India will co-chair the summit. Jaitapur project. In particular, talks between two sides have not resolved the issues between the much delayed Jaitapur nuclear project in Maharashtra, despite a revised techno-commercial offer being made by French energy company EDF in 2022. India and France signed a civil nuclear agreement in 2008 and inked the first MOU for 990 megawatt Jaitapur plant in 2009. Officials have said that the high project cost, time overruns, and continuing logjam on India's Civil Nuclear Liability for Nuclear Damage Act 2010 are among the issues still being discussed on the Jaitapur project. Even as India and France look towards cooperating on small modular reactor in the future. In a statement issued after the talks, Ministry of External Affairs said the two sides held talks on a number of areas of bilateral cooperation including defense, civil nuclear, energy, space, cyber, digital and AI. Modi outsourced Manipur Crisis Congress, attacking Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Manipur Statehood Day. The Congress on Tuesday accused him of abdicating his responsibility by outsourcing the crisis in the state to Union Minister Amit Shah while stubbornly refusing to visit strife-torn state. within hours of the Prime Minister wishing Meghalaya, Manipur, and Tripura on X. On the occasion of Statehood Day, Congress leader Jairam Ramesh took a dig at him over still continuing ethnic conflict in Manipur. His Statehood Day greetings are hollow and reflect his hypocrisy, which knows no limits, he said on his exports. Outsourcing Manipur to the Union Home Minister is an abdication of prime ministerial responsibility and has proved disastrous. Rahul slams Modi government's economic policies. Indian fact checkers to keep working with Meta for now. Platform ties with the fact checkers in India and other countries, barring the US, will continue at least for a few months, with an official of the firm had said on the sidelines of the WEF summit in Davos. The community notes were first premiered on X, and Mr. Zuckerberg had explicitly cited that it has it as a model for Meta's future fact-checking in the US. The feature works by letting a select group of users add annotations on posts and letting other users rate whether these notes are useful or not. As Hindu reported last year, community notes model, at least the way X has implemented, it has faced issues with fact-checking political misinformation, as the architecture of the system requires the users who usually disagree on the other annotations must agree on a given note for it to appear. The system has, the Hindu found, prevented notes from appearing on the multiple viral posts and featured false or misleading statements in the run of 24 Lok Sabha elections. Webinar on thyroid disorders. Saif Ali Khan discharged from hospital after two surgeries. Government warns NGOs of action over funds without FCRA. Court orders seizures of M.F. Hussein's paintings from Delhi Art Gallery. Complainant in Delhi courts has called paintings by the venerable artist M.F. Hussain offensive. Supreme Court panel notice on year-old plaint of caste discrimination during IIT campus placement. NCSC has taken up complaint of caste discrimination at the hands of campus placement offices in IITs, issuing notices to directors of both institutions. NCSC has asked Union Education Ministry to file an action taken report with regards to the complaint filed by the Dheeraj Singh, education activist and alumnus of the institutes. The notice comes with days in the Supreme Court taking up a case of a rampant caste discrimination within higher education campuses across the country and asking for University Grants Commission to provide details of such complaint. The complaint to the NCSC was filed against the background of stirring suicides of scheduled caste students at two IITs, which had triggered a wave of complaints from students and alumni about discriminatory practices on campuses, including mandatory revelations of their caste category for campus placement. In the complaint, Mr. Singh said he had evidence of discriminatory practices by the institutes that had affected at least 300 SC students for the placement year 23-24. DRDO holds key test for hypersonic missiles, crucial milestone in the development of next-generation hypersonic missiles. DRDO has successfully demonstrated cutting-edge cooled scramjet combustion ground test. Cutting-edge cooled scramjet combustion ground test for the first time in India. This is the effort to develop long-duration supersonic combustion scramjet-powered hypersonic technology. The key to hypersonic vehicles is scramjets, which are air-breathing engines capable of sustaining combustion at supersonic speeds. The ground test of scramjet combustion showcased several achievements, demonstrating its potential for operational use in hypersonic vehicles like successful ignition and stable combustion. Trump effectively pulls US out of global corporate tax deal. The US President directs Treasury to identify protective measures on tax collapse of Pillar 1 talks may revive digital services levies. President Donald Trump on Monday declared global corporate minimum tax deal has no force or effect in the US, effectively pulling America out of the landmark 21 arrangement negotiated by Biden administration with nearly 140 countries. Mr. Trump, in the presidential memorandum issued hours after taking office, also ordered the US Treasury to prepare options for protective measures against countries that have or are likely to put in place tax rules that disproportionately affect American companies. European Union, Britain, and other countries have adopted 15% global corporate minimum tax, but US Congress never approved measures to bring the US into compliance with it. The US has roughly 10% global minimum tax, part of Mr. Trump's landmark 2017 tax cut package approved by Republicans. But the countries that adopted 15% global minimum tax may be in a position to call the top-up tax from US companies paying a lower rate. This memorandum recaptures our nation's sovereignty and economic competitiveness by clarifying that global tax deal has no force of or effect in the United States. After years of stalled talks on the global taxes hosted by Paris-based OECD to end competitive reductions in corporate tax rates, former US Treasury agreed to a deal in 21. Another part of OECD negotiations were aimed at a new arrangement to sharing taxing rights on large profitable multinational companies with countries where their products are sold. The effort was aimed at replacing unilateral digital services taxes that target largely American technology firms from Meta platform Facebook to Apple. But these are called Pillar 1 talks. Notes from Davos. The first day of 25 World Economic Forum meeting began with alpine sunshine casting global golden glow over the snow-lined promenade in Davos. By day two, temperatures dipped further, but the bustling energy on the streets stayed undeterred. This year's theme, Collaboration for the Intelligent Age, feels tailor made for India. As the fastest growing economy, India is setting benchmark in areas such as digital transformation, renewable energy, innovation. From transforming global fintech, green hydrogen leading cleanest energy transition, and leading discussions for global fora such as G20 and Quad, India's story aligns perfectly with the five interconnected priorities of the WEF: rebuilding trust, reimagining growth, safeguarding the planet, investing in people and industries in the intelligent age. India's delegation is impactful with four cabinet ministers and two ministers of state. For over 4 decades, CII has proudly carried the Indian flag at Davos, showcasing the nation's and India Inc.'s evolving story. Notable highlight was the focus on rebuilding trust amid geopolitical tensions as US withdraws from the Paris Climate Agreement and establishment of an external revenue service. Safeguarding the planet was a recurring theme as well. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen declared world is undergoing an energy transition that is unstoppable. India's leadership in renewable energy, green hydrogen and sustainable life through Mission Life mirrors this sentiment which echoed on the streets of Promenade. Walking back through the snow-laden streets, one thing was clear: India isn't just participating in Davos 25, it is taking center stage, redefining what collaboration in the intelligent age looks like, and perhaps converting a few delegates into chai enthusiasts along the way at Indian lounges. Perfect place for Indian Inta. Hyundai Motor achieves 92% manufacturing localization. UCO Bank MSTC transfers 100% stake in FSNL to Konoike Transport. The strategic disinvestment of FSNL, a wholly owned subsidiary of the MSTC Limited, concluded on Tuesday with the transfer of full shareholding to the Konoike Transport Company Limited and Department of DIPAM said. In September last year, the government has approved the privatization of FSNL to Japanese corporation Konoike Transport Corporation for 320 crore. Following this, a share purchase agreement was signed in October. SEBI looking to allow trading prior to listing. We feel that if investor wants to do that, why not give them that opportunity in the proper regulated way? SEBI chairman Madhabi Puri Buch said in an event. Mr. Buch said discussions were on with stock exchanges to put in place the well-listed facility whereby shares can be traded during the 3 days between allotment and listing. India Cements logs 160.52 crore in Q3 net. Export hit job losses per fresh scheme to revive diamond trade. The Commerce Industry Ministry on Tuesday announced a new diamond impressed authorization scheme to allow duty-free import of natural cut and polished diamonds for export purposes, acknowledging that India's diamond industry is witnessing a steep decline in export and job losses and pinning hopes on the DIA to combat this trend and reinvigorate the sector. To be implemented from April 1, the DIA allows the import of diamonds of less than 1/4 carats or 25 cents with the mandate that they be exported with a value addition of 10%. Diamond exporters having two-star export house status and above having 15% million exports per year are eligible for availing benefit under the scheme. The scheme is in response to the beneficiation policies undertaken in natural diamond mining countries like Botswana, Namibia, and Angola, where diamond manufacturers are obliged to open cut and polishing facilities for minimum percentage of value addition. Government began search for trial sites for air taxis. Electric vehicle takeoff and landing aircraft. Electric vehicle. The center has begun the task of identifying trial sites for air taxis or electric vehicle takeoff and landing aircraft. Gujarat and another state are officials said visits covered Gujarat and another state and are being carried out by expert team of the DGCA, Airports Authority of India and industry players in eVTOL space. We are looking at the regulatory sandbox within India. DGCA officials have started field visits to firm up sites where trials can take place. Wum Lun Mang, Wual Nam, Secretary Ministry of Civil Aviation, said at the Urban Air Mobility Expo organized by the CIA. Musk raises eyebrows with salute gesture at Trump's inauguration. Billionaire Elon Musk sparked controversy on Monday after making a gesture at an event celebrating US President, with some calling it a Nazi or fascist movement. He has appeared on stage at Capitol on Arena in Washington. Israel Army Chief Halevi quits over failure to stop October 7 attack. Afghan Taliban swaps two US citizens for a member or group. 66 dead, 54 wounded in place at popular ski resort in Turkey. Putin Xi reiterate their close ties after Trump's swearing in. We jointly support the development of just more global order and work to ensure indivisible security in Eurasia and the world, the Russian leader tells his Chinese counterpart. Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke on Tuesday with Chinese President Xi Jinping and emphasized that their close ties a day after Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th US president. The two leaders discussed their prospective contacts with Mr. Trump administration. They have developed strong personal links and brought their relations even closer after Mr. Putin sent troops into the Ukraine in 2022. China has become major Russian oil gas customer. China has become major Russian oil and gas customer and a source of key technologies amid sweeping Western sanctions in Moscow. In a call with Mr. Xi, Putin emphasized that Russia-China relations are based on shared interest, equality, and mutual benefits, noting that they don't depend on internal political factors and current international environment. We jointly support development of a more just multipolar global order and work to ensure indivisible security in Eurasia and the world. Mr. Xi similarly praised their close cooperation, expressing his readiness to work together with Mr. Putin to lead China-Russia relations to a higher level and to safeguard international fairness and justice. He emphasized that Russia and China should deepen strategic cooperation and safeguard the legitimate interest of the two countries. Trump's exit from Paris Agreement threatens future of renewable energy. On Monday, the first day of his second presidency, Donald Trump signed an executive order to withdraw the US from historic 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. Withdrawal of the world's second largest polluter would further undermine the losing battle to keep global emissions to prevent global temperatures from rising more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. The future of renewable energy. In 2016, when Mr. Trump won election and had moved to withdraw the US from the pact, the exit did not formally take place thanks to the way Paris Agreement rules were framed. However, this time the US can exit within a year of formally conveying this to the UN, which Mr. Trump did on Monday. It remains to be seen how matters will play out this time. Despite President Trump's withdrawal, there has been a large delegation of US observers who have participated in every climate meet and play a significant role. Multilateral development banks are unlikely to continue focusing on climate finance, which is essential for developing countries. Sri Lankan media spotlights Dissanayike's balancing act with Beijing and New Delhi. Following Sri Lankan President Anura Kumara Dissanayike's recent 4-day visit to China, analysis and commentary in the local media pointed to the leaders' balancing act with Beijing and Delhi. During Dissanayike's state visit, from January 14 to 17, close on the heels of his India visit in December 24, he announced a $3.7 billion investment, one of our largest FDIs from Singapore, for a refinery in southern Hambantota district. Meanwhile, addressing a public rally of supporters following his return, Mr. Disanayak said his government is discussing a joint venture with India to refurbish Second World War-era oil storage tanks in the eastern Triconomali district. Mr. Disnaike's visit Sri Lanka and China issued a 21-long joint statement covering various bilateral matters. Both aspirants and global power status and leadership roles in the global south are viewing Sri Lanka through strategic lens, India through neighborhood first and Sagar framework, and China through the BRI. Meanwhile, Colombo-based analyst and disinformation researcher Sanjana Hathua highlighted Sri Lanka's careful diplomatic balancing in both statements. Sri Lanka's joint statement with India focused heavily on specific development projects and granular implementation details, while its statement with China emphasized cooperation in the Belt and Road and broader economic framework. Gaza truce intact despite skepticism from Trump. The Israel-Hamas ceasefire entered a third day on the Tuesday, while the US President Donald Trump said he doubted the fragile deal would hold. Desperately needed humanitarian aid had begun to flow into the war-battered Gaza after Israel and Hamas conducted the first exchange of hostages for prisoners agreed under the terms of the ceasefire. Gazans, displaced by more than 15 months of the war, have been walking through an apocalyptic landscape to return to whatever remains of their homes. Gaza is a like massive demolition site. Hardik is part of the leading group, says Surya Kumar. George Butler highlighting the exciting Jacob Bethel talents. In Belgium, it's more of a tactical game, while here it is really intense. You are a bit like a role model for them, even though I don't really like that word because we all know something about hockey. We all try to teach other. I learn a lot from how they play, and they learn a lot from me. In Breakthrough, scientists find pressure sensor in fat tissue. Gautam Menon, professor at Ashoka University who studies how cells sense and respond to mechanical forces, called it as a major discovery. It has also kicked new mystery as its co-discoverer and 2021 Nobel laureate Ardem Patapoutian remarked, "What could the sensor be be sensing in fact?" Piezo-meganosensitive channel, a class of proteins that help sense pressure and flexing, demonstrated how channel opened. Builders study LA homes that survived the fires. According to this advertisement, West Bengal is home to 16 wildlife sanctuary and 6 national parks. 20 luxury cruises are currently operational in West Bengal, making river tourism. Kolkata Durga Puja is recognized as UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage Site, Cultural Heritage of Humanity. West Bengal is home to three UNESCO Heritage Treasures, Sundarbans, Shantiniketan and Darjeeling Himalayan Railway. West Bengal offers state-of-the-art MICE facilities with three in Kolkata, positioning it as leading Southeast Asia destination. With 5,000 homestays, West Bengal stands at India's leading homestay destination. 32 super luxury hotels will open in West Bengal in 25-26. West Bengal steel and steel product are key export commodities, consistently ranking among top 5 in recent years. West Bengal merchandise exports are pegged at 97,000 crore in 23-24. West Bengal is among top 10 exporting states. Over 30 large cement manufacturing plants are increasing and meeting international demand. Trump declares end to US citizenship by birth. Democratized Democratic-led states challenge order that could affect thousands of Indians in the US. President also threatens 100% tariffs on BRICS countries if they attempt to move on non-dollar transactions. Shortly after being sworn in on Monday, US President signed executive order cancelling the provision of citizenship by birth, which could directly affect thousands of Indian professionals working with the US under H-1B and temporary visas, who hope to raise their families there. Mr. Trump also said he planned to levy 100% taxes on BRICS countries for attempting to move on non-dollar transactions. As a BRICS nation, they'll have a 100% tariff. They so much as even think about doing what they thought, and therefore they will give up immediately. In addition, Mr. Trump plans to crack down on undocumented and illegal immigrants, could hit about 7.25 lakh Indians, of which nearly 18,000 are on a final list for removal or deportations. Coalition of 18 Democratic-led states, along with the District of Columbia and City of San Francisco, filed a lawsuit in federal court in Boston on Tuesday, arguing that Republican President effort to end birthright citizenship was flagrant violation of the US Constitution. Indian stock market hits as Trump takes charge in US. Trump pardons January 6 Capitol riot convicts. WTO chief urges US to reconsider its exit decision. Central Committee member among 14 Maoists killed in Gariaband encounter. Jayaram, senior member of Central Committee, highest decision making of the Maoist. Biduri's kin attacking AAP volunteers, Atishi writes to EC. Kerala Assembly calls for fresh new UGC norms. JDU cast doubts on picking VCs under draft rules. Will provide free education in Delhi from KG to PG. BJP will regularize ironing stands, establish Dhobi welfare boards. Kejriwal. Hema Committee report Supreme Court lauds those who gave statements before SIT. Chancellor post must be held by CM, says Stalin. Gandhi was a true Hindu, chanted name of Ram till his last breath. Can't wait forever. Delhi High Court asks police to respond to bail pleas of Umar Khalid. Sir jail. PM internship scheme companies to absorb 10% of the interns. Internship are the new entry level jobs. A team by Teamlease EdTech corroborates as it found 81% of India Inc. to be backing PM's internship scheme, 73% of companies intending to adopt at least 10%. So that's all. See you in the next one.